Well, hello folks. Welcome to my shop again this morning. And it's a late October morning, getting near Halloween, and it's a little chilly out. The weather's been changing quite regularly here in Massachusetts. And the mornings are darker, the afternoons are darker, but the wood shop is always nice and bright, and glad you could join me here. I thought this morning that what we would do is, or what I'm going to do anyways, is work with a new piece of wood. I'm not at all familiar with it. I've never used it before, but I needed a piece of wood that was sort of yellowish in color for a project that's coming up, and about 3/4 inches thick, and with some grain in it, not a lot, but enough to make it stand out. So I went over to wood shop, not wood shop, I went over to Woodcraft and rummaged around through their stockpile over there. They got a lot of interesting woods there. Prices are ridiculous, of course, but it's like everything else, wood is shot up like an unbelievable rocket. And but I went through the boards and tried to find something that would match what I'm looking for. And I came up with this wood, and I thought I would, take a look at it this morning with you and see if it is any good or not. And it seems to be. It's a heavy piece of wood. This is a small section of the board that I bought, but it's about the size I'm going to do for a little experiment we're going to use it for. And tell you a little bit about the wood. It's called Avidur. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, of course, but I've seen several different pronunciations for it online, but I'll just call it Avidur just to make it nice and simple. It's spelled Avodire, and it's a hardwood, and it's found in western and central regions of Africa. Interestingly, near lakes and streams. Obviously must like a good drink of water every once in a while, if that's the case. It grows quite large as a tree. Tree, I think, can be anywhere from 2 to 3 feet in diameter, maybe even bigger than that. I've seen some pictures that seem larger than that anyways. It's a sort of pale yellow or cream color, and as I understand it, with age it tends to darken. So it might be an interesting piece of wood to see over time. The grain can be straight or irregular. And if you look at this, grain seems to be pretty straight anyways in this one. If you look at the end piece, it's kind of interesting the way it looks. And it ought to be an interesting piece of wood for the little project I've got here as an experiment anyways, and probably for my bigger project later on down the road. As I understand, it decays easily, and it's susceptible to insect attack too, so you probably wouldn't want to use it as an outdoor project. Generally, it's considered a good woodworking character, has good woodworking characteristics, and it's used quite a bit for furniture, also used as a veneer, from what I understand. The only real problem with it, as far as I've been able to determine in my research, is that it does have a problem with tear out when you try to plane it. Now, I probably would end up sanding this instead of planing it, but I imagine that could be a real problem. We might end up trying to do that after I do a little experimenting on this. There's no noticeable odor. I cut this off of the board and didn't really smell anything extraordinary on it. As far as allergic reactions go, I guess there are some if you're sensitive to this type of wood. I haven't noticed it yet, of course, and I do have some sensitivity to some woods, but what I would just recommend is that you wear a good mask if you're going to work with this wood, because some of the associated irritations are with the skin and nosebleeds and asthma-like symptoms. But I can't say anything for them or against them because I don't know for sure, but you won't want to take any chances if you don't have to. So be sure to get yourself a good mask to work with it. It uses plywood. It's also used as a veneer on some furniture. It also has properties similar to mahogany. Mahogany, of course, is a darker wood, as I've encountered anyways, and this is sometimes sold under the name of a white mahogany, so it'll be kind of interesting. Another thing that was interesting, too, that I thought, is that they say that when you put a lacquer on this, coating of some sort, it tends to have a sheen to it. One of the persons likened it to if you're looking at a cat's eye, you get that real sharp, shiny look to it, or a subtle softness there that is brought out in the grain. So that'll be interesting too, if we end up spraying this with a clear spray. See how it all happens. Okay, what I thought we would do to start experimenting with this wood is, first of all, take it and bring it down to size. Now, I've got this little pattern I made. Very simple little thing, nothing complicated. It's called a new leaf. I'll wait while you get the idea. Okay, it's a new leaf, and it could be used as a coaster. It could be used as a hanging ornament, which is the way I've got it set up here. A lot of things. Makes an interesting conversation piece, if nothing else. But we're going to cut this out of this wood, but not that thick. What I want to first of all do is split the wood down the middle so that I get two blanks, approximately half an inch each, a little less than that, obviously. But and then we'll take this and we'll cut it out like that. So I'm going to first of all cut it down to size. Probably should cut the pattern first. Let's cut that out so you get a better idea of what we're working with here. If you want this pattern, by the way, you can click the link down below and you can get it on my pattern site, and you'll get a few other miscellaneous patterns along with it you might enjoy working with. Alright, this will fit nicely on here. What we could do probably is take this down first a bit. We don't really need that much area on it. So I'm going to cut this down, and then I'm going to resaw this so that it is more usable for this pattern. Okay, I cut this down the middle with a resaw on it, and I got two nice blanks, cut very nicely. I haven't sanded this at all, and yet it feels pretty smooth. They're roughly a half-inch piece, maybe a little less. I'm going to take this pattern now and cut it out. You can, of course, if you wanted to, you want to make two at the same time, you could tape those together, cut it out at the same time, but I only need one to test this out, so I'm going to just cut one piece as such. So we'll set this up first with our tape. Always use our painter tape to get started here. If you were using this to double it, of course, you use some longer pieces. Let's see if that's enough. Maybe, well, why don't we put one more on it? Okay, we'll use some glue stick on the back here. Glue stick on the back, which I usually like. No spraying going on here to get into your lungs. Does it very nicely. Very simple process. Leave a little bit on either side so I'll have some real estate to grip onto when I'm cutting. Could have cut this down a little more if I wanted to. Now what we're going to do is take this over to the drill press and drill some entry holes. This doesn't quite go to the top here, the leaf anyways, leaf pattern, but I'm going to imagine that it does when I cut this, so that I got a little extra support there. This probably wouldn't break off easily, but if you got that little bit of support up there, it might help. It means an extra cut, of course, but that's okay. So I would, cut these out, probably starting at some point in here, right near the corner. And then, of course, we want to cut out our letters. Fortunately, these letters, this one could probably be cut as one piece if it wanted to. But fortunately, these letters don't have any openings. They have to be set up like an O would, or another letter that's closed like an R, for example. And then, of course, I'll put an entry hole out there just so that I can have a little bit of real estate to carry with me when I'm cutting this. I'm going to need holes at all these points here. And I like to start my cutting right at the point if I can. It doesn't really matter where you do it, but sometimes it's a little better when you start right down there in terms of getting everything properly done. You can drill this hole out, or you can cut it, or you can leave it off altogether if you want, if you decide to use this as a coaster or something along those lines. Okay, so let me go drill these out, and I'll meet you back at the scroll saw. You know where that is. Okay, here we are over at the scroll saw, and got a number 5 reverse tooth blade, as you know, my blade of choice if you've been around here before. Got all the entry holes cut out, and got our board ready to go, so let's start cutting. Okay, this is going to be the first time I've cut this wood, so let's see how it works. I gotta put my mask on. Okay, that cuts very nicely for a hardwood. Does have a nice sheen to it when you cut it too. That blade tends to polish up the look of the wood, and that's on the end, of course. And inside, I'm sure we could do the same too. Give it a good sanding. Cut out very nicely, and no problems with it. Looks like it's a nice straight edge on the pieces. So let's continue to cut this thing out. Okay, we got all the pieces cut out now. Take this out of here. A few comments about the wood, first of all. It leaves a very grainy sawdust around. There is no odor that I can detect. I've taken my mask off and haven't really noticed any odor at all, and been no problems with it whatsoever. I have to flatten this out a little bit here because with the sander, because my blade came loose during the cutting and messed it up on me. But you notice too, I'm not a slave to the pattern, and you shouldn't be either. As I was cutting, I decided I'd make this base a little bit wider, and I did that as it went along. Make sure you get your points outside, give it a 3D effect. But otherwise, wood is a very pleasant one to use as far as I could see, this far anyways, and it seems to have cut very nicely. So let's go clean it up a little bit. Okay, I've taken the pattern off this now, and what we're going to do now is run it over the sanding brush here, sanding mop, and smooth out all the edges and round over some of the edges too. So here we go. Okay, I ran this over the mop sander and came up pretty smooth, nice edges, and then I sanded it down on both sides so it's pretty smooth. So I think what I'm going to do now is give it a coating of spray. Let's see how the clear spray works on this as far as changing the wood tone, which it might do a little bit, and certainly add a shine to it. Okay, we're going to use Rust-Oleum. I don't know if that'll clear up or not. Let's see. Rust-Oleum Clear Spray. 2X Ultra Cover. And this is a gloss clear. So it should give it a nice sheen to it when it's all dried. And just lightly coat it. Changed color already. A little bit darker than when it was uncoated. So it should look pretty good, especially for other projects. And just turn this around a little bit. The other side here. Coat it really good. And we'll let that dry now. And when it's all done, we'll come back and take a look at it. Okay, we finished up the new leaf project, and our little wood here that we were experimenting with. Wood looks kind of nice, and it gives a nice sheen to the project. And remember, I said if you want to get this pattern, you can click the link down below, and you can download it, and you'll get several other patterns along with it too. If you like this video, click the little like button down below. It'll help my site a lot. And if you haven't subscribed, by all means, go ahead and subscribe too. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you for watching.